Hello everyone, I'm back with my next video of probably this would be the last video of this sexual reproduction in flowering plants. And the last tip, post-fertilization event was started earlier and in which we have studied let me help you with the help of a diagram. Like this is the female reproductive system. And this female reproductive system over which a pollen is striking with its two cells, the receptivity will be decided by in between the communication between a pollen and stigma. It's a very important and most recent part of the botany that there is a communication between a pollen and a stigma so that the receptivity will be done. Just think of it. Suppose a pollen of rose flower will strike on the stigma of hibiscus plant. How is it possible to fertilization will be done? It's impossible because two different species are going to be fused here, which is not possible at all, and therefore there will be a correct pollen to be strike on the stigma, and this is possible only when the same type, the same species of pollen will strike on the stigma. So the communication will be done in between pollen and stigma by a chemical connection. So this is very important and most recent part of this sexual reproduction in flowering plants. So as soon as the pollen is striking on the stigma, obviously the communication will be done, and if it is correct pollen, the germinator, two cells are there in the pollen, germinative cell and vegetative cell. The vegetative cell will start forming the pollen tube. Vegetative cell will consume in the formation of pollen tube, and the germinative cell will enter into the female gamete, and it will divide mitotically and form two gametes, two male gametes, and one male gamete will fuse with egg cell and another male gamete will fuse with the polar nuclei to form triple fusion, and this is why this process is called double fertilization and triple fusion. And finally what will be happen, this is an ovary, and inside it the ovules are arranged. And I have already told you the changes during post-fertilization event. What will be happen? This ovary get converted, develop into a fruit, and this ovary, and this ovule will develop into seeds, and the seeds we have to study today. So seeds we have to study. Let us talk about, first of all, let us talk about non-albuminous. Non-albuminous means the development will be done. I told you already that an embryo will be formed. The embryo will be formed along with primary endosperm cell. Primary endosperm cell. So this endosperm cell that starts giving nutrition to the embryo, means the development of embryo is possible because of primary endosperm cell. So this endosperm cell will be consumed in the development of embryo. So the consumption of primary endosperm cell will be done in the embryonic development. So this how I am going to correlate this explanation to the non-albuminous. Complete endosperm will be consumed completely, and the endosperm will be consumed in the development, and this is why this is called non-albuminous. Remember it. Once again I am telling, when complete embryo PEC will be consumed in the development, means no remaining part of endosperm, no remaining part of endosperm is there. and this is called non-albuminous. The examples are very important. This is groundnut and this is pea. I have made a star, it means it is important really. So groundnut and pea, these two examples of non-albuminous. Remember, examples are very, very important thing. It's a big weapon to have good marks in the boards. The next one is albuminous. Means it was consumed. The endosperm was fully consumed here, no retained part. But here it will act in the, it will take part in the consumption, in the development of embryo, but it will not completely retain. It will not completely utilized, consumed. It will have a small part of endosperm, right? It will remain left the small segment, small part of endosperm, and this is found in the maize, castor, wheat and barley as well. So these are the examples of albuminous. Perisperm means the residual persistent nucleus, means the residual part. This is the perisperm, right? The next topic today is the fruit. The fruit, whenever fruit comes in your mind, two words, since lower classes as well, we have been listening about true fruit, false fruits. Why it is called so? So I have just told you this box, just look at this box. Ovary is developed into fruit, and this takes place in the changes during the post fertilization. So ovary develops into fruit. So the true fruit is this. The fruit which is developed from ovary is called true fruit. I have written here, true fruits developed from the ovary that form a fruit. This is called true fruit. Examples are grapes, mango, oranges. These are the example of true fruits. And when thalamus also participate in the development of a fruit, this is called false fruit. And one of the best example of false fruit is strawberry and apple. These two examples, probably apples are the example which has come so many times. So this will be the apple, so many times, I mean in so many examinations. So this false fruit will have two greater example, apple and strawberry. Next one is parthenocarpic. Parthenocarpic fruit means the fruit formation without a fertilization. The fruit produced without fertilization, this is called parthenocarpic fruit, and the examples are very, very easy. Banana is one of the most common, most important and best example of parthenocarpic fruit. Next is apomixis. Apomixis means a seed is being produced. Seed is produced without fertilization, is called apomixis, and this will be found in Asteraceae. Asteraceae is a family. This is a family. Asteraceae is a family of a flowering plants which has been reported 32,000 species so far about it. So this is Asteraceae. Some grasses are also there in which seeds are produced without fertilization. The next topic is polyembryony. The word itself explaining its name. Poly means multiple, many. Embryony means embryo, means a seed which has more than one embryo. More than one embryo in a seed. This is called polyembryony. By the name it is clear. Poly plus embryony. Poly means many, embryony means embryo. So many embryo present in a single seed. This is called polyembryony. An example is capsicum. Citrus also an example of this. Capsicum, cocoa, these are the three examples of this polyembryony. The next one is dormancy. Let me clear about dormancy. Dormancy is a characteristics of a seed. Suppose you have kept your seeds, grains into granaries and it is not growing, no sprouting is there. But when you put those grains into the moist soil, you will see the sprouting is being started from the seed. What happens? What is the difference between the seeds are kept in the granaries and now seeds are spread into the moist soil? The difference is this. The suitable growth medium is not there in the granaries, and this is the very first requirement of a granaries, where no moisture is required at all, no water source is required over there. And that is why when moisture will not be occurred, obviously the thing will be very, very clear, very, very suitable for the seed, and it will start growing. So this, when it is present, when the seed is present in the soil or moist place, automatically it will develop, the sprouting will be start, germination will be start, and the germination will it germinate finally to the plant. So this stage of inactive state of an embryo, this state of inactive state of embryo, this is called dormancy. The next thing, pericarp, the wall of ovary, this wall of ovary that develops into pericarp. You have seen in mango, and one more very good example in guava. In guava, in mango, the wall of ovary develops into pericarp, which is full of nutrients as well. So this is all about the terms and the final event, post-fertilization event, that we had to cover it. Receptivity, there is another point that I just want to discuss. Pollen pistil interaction, which we had not discussed in previous lecture. Pollen pistil interaction means the pollen, when it strikes, it should be suitable, and that is why the same suitable pollen is striking, it will start forming the pollen into it. But when it is not so, then what will be happen? Obviously it will rejected by the stigma, and this is because of the communication between pollen and stigma. This is happen. So this is all about the post fertilization event. Sometime what happens, most of the flowering plants, they are very important discussion I'm doing with you. Most of the flowering plants, they are bisexual in nature, means in a same flower, both the sex organs are present. And if both the sex organs are present in a same flower, there will be maximum probability of autogamy, self-pollination. And if self-pollination will be happen, then there will be no any more new varieties will be produced. And many times if it is happening, of course there will be a trouble for the survival of the next generation of the plant. And that is why the plants always try to avoid, it has several ways by which the flower itself try to avoid the process of autogamy. How is it possible? The possibility is done, the maturity of the pollen and maturity of this female reproductive system will not be occurred at same time. Suppose a pollen is matured, a pollen is dehisced, but the stigma is not able to receive the pollen, so it will produce, but it will not strike here, it will go somewhere else, and fertilization will be avoided. So this can be done. Second thing is this, the very second thing. The second thing is the pollen, it strikes over it. It is striking. I was talking about pollen, the same stigma in the same flower. If it is consistently happen, there will be a problem comes, which is called inbreeding depression. Inbreeding depression. This is one of the very common word for the board examination of 12th standard. Inbreeding depression means the bisexual flower, they are performing pollination every time in the same flower, same gamete in a single flower. Means many times pollen is produced, and this pollen that perform autogamy there only. So this will create inbreeding depression, and which is always a plant try to avoid. How it is trying to avoid? There are some specific way by the plant itself it avoid the thing. Like the example, the thing I'm telling you, how they avoid it. So the development or the maturity of male and female gamete doesn't take place together. And second, the location of pollen and stigma is not that much suitable so that pollen can strike on the stigma in the same flower. So the location of the reproductive organs as well as the time variation of the maturity, this will vary so that the autogamy can be avoided. But this inbreeding depression or artificial hybridization, you have seen in artificial hybridization two words are there: bagging and emasculation. These two words are also very familiar for board examination: bagging and emasculation. Suppose this is a female reproductive system. What you have to avoid artificially, we have to avoid the self pollination, so we will make a bag like structure over it, a bag like structure made up of butter paper, this cover the stigma so that pollen will not strike over it because of the protection of butter paper bag like structure. So this bag like structure protect the autogamy, and that is why this process is called bagging. Actually, not, it doesn't avoid only autogamy, but it helps in avoiding the unwanted pollen infection over it. So this butter paper is also working as a bag, and that's why this process is called bagging. The next is emasculation. In the flower, you would have seen the male gamete and female gamete, if it is present in a single flower, means this is bisexual. So what will be happen in the flower? The male reproductive system will be taken out. This will be plucked out by using the plucker, by using the forceps, and by using this, the male gamete will be, the male reproductive part, stamen, complete stamens will be taken out, so that no stamen means no anther, no anther means no pollen will be produced, and no autogamy will be possible. So these two things are also there in concern of artificial hybridization. Artificial pollination or hybridization. So these two things will be helpful for. So there will be a question in board examination that how to avoid, if you are a farmer, how you will avoid the infection of contamination of the unwanted pollen in a flower. We will write these two examples: bagging and emasculation. Emasculation means taken off male reproductive parts in a bisexual flower, and bag means covering of a bag made up of butter paper on the stigma so that contamination of pollen will not be occur. So this is all about the last topic of sexual reproduction in flowering plants. Let me recall it in Hindi and let us bind the chapter by final explanation. Non-albuminous means एंडोस्पर्म पूरी तरह से कंज्यूम हो जाता है और कंज्यूम होके एक सीड बनाता है, उस सीड को कहते हैं नॉन एल्बुमिनस सीड. दिस सीड इज कॉल्ड नॉन एल्बुमिनस सीड. ग्राउंडनट एंड पी आर द एग्जांपल. उसके दो एग्जांपल्स हैं. एल्बुमिनस जिसमें ये पूरा कंज्यूम हो गया था एंडोस्पर्म नॉन एल्बुमिनस में, और एल्बुमिनस में थोड़ा सा पार्ट बचा रहेगा, और जो बचा हुआ पार्ट है उसी को पेरिस्पर्म कहते हैं. जैसे एग्जांपल है कैस्टर, मेज, व्हीट भी इसका बहुत ही कॉमन सा एग्जांपल है. ये एग्जांपल्स हैं जिनको मैंने रेड कलर में मेंशन किया है. नेक्स्ट इज ट्रू फ्रूट. अगर हम फ्रूट की बात करते हैं तो ट्रू फ्रूट का डेवलपमेंट हमेशा ओवरी से होता है, तो वो फ्रूट जो ओवरी से डेवलप्ड होता है उसको ट्रू फ्रूट कहते हैं, और वो फ्रूट जो थैलमस भी उसमें पार्टिसिपेट करता है उसके डेवलपमेंट में, उसको हम कहते हैं फॉल्स फ्रूट. एप्पल फॉल्स फ्रूट का बहुत ही स्पेसिफिक एग्जांपल है, और मैंगो, ऑरेंज ये ट्रू फ्रूट्स होते हैं. पार्थेनोकार्पिक एक फ्रूट जो बिना फर्टिलाइजेशन के हो, दिस इज कॉल्ड पार्थेनोकार्पिक एग्जाम्पल है बनाना, बहुत ही कॉमन सा एग्जाम्पल है। एपोमिक्सिस, सीड विदाउट फर्टिलाइजेशन, मतलब सीड का फॉर्मेशन हो बिना ही फर्टिलाइजेशन के। और एस्टरेसी एक फैमिली है फ्लावरिंग प्लांट का जिसके 32,000 स्पीसीज को अब तक रिपोर्ट किया गया है। दिस इज अ लाइन आई हैव टेकन फ्रॉम एनसीईआरटी एंड द एनसीईआरटी स्टैटिस्टिक्स आर वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर द बोर्ड एग्जामिनेशन। पॉलीएम्ब्रियोनी, पॉली मींस मैनी, एम्ब्रियोनी मींस एम्ब्रियो, मींस एक सीड जिसमें ढेर सारे एम्ब्रियो होते हैं उसको पॉलीएम्ब्रियोनी कहते हैं। एग्जांपल है कैप्सिकम, सिट्रस, ये एग्जांपल्स हैं। डॉर्मेंसी, डॉर्मेंसी मींस होता है सीड्स कभी कभी वो क्या होते हैं, वो ग्रो नहीं करते क्योंकि वो ग्रेनरीज में रखा गया सुटेबल लाइफ, सुटेबल ग्रोथ मीडियम में नहीं है और उसके वजह से उसमें स्प्राउटिंग नहीं होता है, कोई अंकुरण नहीं होता, एंड देयर विल बी नो स्प्राउटिंग एंड हेंस नो जर्मिनेशन विल बी देयर, एंड दिस स्टेट, इनएक्टिव स्टेट ऑफ अ सीड इज कॉल्ड द डॉर्मेंसी। नेक्स्ट और लास्ट है पेरिकार्प, जो ओवरी का वॉल है वो डेवलप होता है पेरिकार्प में इस तरह, और उसका एग्जांपल हो गया मैंगो, ऑरेंज, guava, these are the example of the pericarp. So this is all about the reproductive sexual reproduction in flowering plants, and I have tried my best to make very easy and suitable education about the very first chapter of 12th standard. We will now see about the some more chapters. Have a nice day. Thank you.